the numbers alone, if Johnson were to lose another House Republican in the middle of this term to things like retirement, death, or illness, three things that are not that far-fetched, there is a decent chance that the GOP can end up in the minority at some point in 2026. Good morning, I'm Anna Palmer, and welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It's Monday, November 24th, 2025. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, what MTG got right and how it could impact Congress. Number two, we've got some news. The CIA in Mexico raised concerns about Representative Dan Crenshaw to Langley. And number three, the big question, can Congress actually pass Russia sanctions? Happy Monday, everybody. It's just me this morning. We are only publishing AM editions through Wednesday, and we'll have company-wide holidays Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving. All right, let's talk MTG. Everybody was buzzing over the weekend after she posted a missive, a manifesto of sorts, on Friday night that sounded many of the notes of concern we hear about President Donald Trump's second term. She, of course, will retire from Congress in 42 days. And even over the weekend on Sunday, she posted again about how she would never run for president, but then laid out again her case in some ways and of complaints about the current party, about how nothing gets done. The crux of her message is that Trump and House Republicans are abandoning all of the president's priorities, falling into complacency, and are on the brink of squandering their razor-thin majority. So let's dispense with some caveats to begin with. MTG has never been representative of the House Republican Conference writ large. She has a bone to pick with Trump and the leadership, and she may have her eye on the governorship. That chatter picked up again over the weekend, and as we all know, MTG has also never been a fan or had a close working relationship with Speaker Mike Johnson. Still, given all of that, MTG's 4-page note was sticking for House Republicans. The reason why? Because the message rang so true to many House GOPers. In fact, a few other members messaged us over the weekend saying that they too are considering retiring in the middle of their term. Let's take this excerpt by one particularly exercised senior House Republican. Quote, "This entire White House team has treated all members like garbage, all. And Mike Johnson has let it happen because he wanted it to happen. That is a sentiment of nearly all appropriators, authorizers, hawks, doves, rank and file. The arrogance of this White House team is off-putting to members who are run roughshod and threatened. They don't even allow little wins like announcing small grants or even responding from agencies. Not even the high-profile, the regular rank and file random members are more upset than ever. Members know they are going into the minority after the midterms." So that's obviously a scathing, on background rebuke to this administration and how they have kind of run, over House Republicans at times. And of course, Johnson's team will point out that they have impossibly small margins and believe they're doing what they can with the hand that they were dealt. But the idea that Republicans could lose their majority of this Congress is no longer far-fetched. If Johnson were to lose, let's just take it, the numbers alone, if Johnson were to lose another House Republican in the middle of this term to things like retirement, death, or illness, three things that are not that far-fetched, there is a decent chance that the GOP can end up in the minority at some point in 2026. Let's talk about the math, because that is what is important here. Republicans currently have 219 seats. Democrats have 213. Now, there is a special election in Tennessee on December 2nd to fill former Representative Mark Green's seat. Democrats and Republicans are pouring piles of money into that seat, which should be a Republican seat. Trump won that by more than 20 points. If Republicans win, then their margin remains the same after MTG's retirement. But let's go for the point further here. Democrats will gain a seat in Houston at the end of January when voters choose the late Representative Sylvester Turner's replacement. And on April 16th, New Jersey voters will choose who succeeds Governor-elect Mikey Sherrill. That's the seat former Vice President Kamala Harris won by 9 percentage points in 2024. So let's hypothetically say Democrats are able to steal the Tennessee seat based on subpar GOP turnout. Unlikely, but possible. Johnson would then have 218 to 214. Texas and New Jersey would bring Democrats up to 216. So then you get back into the scenario. If any member retire or they fall ill, Johnson would be sunk. House retirements and resignations, of course, are common after holidays. How appealing is it to return to the Capitol when the House spends most of its time voting on censure resolutions or meaningless bills? Let's talk about the calendar, because that's also important. The legislative climate is brutal. They have things like enhanced Obamacare premium subsidies that are expiring at the end of December to deal with or not deal with. Now we have the president expected to propose a new plan in the coming days that will include a 2-year extension of the subsidies, or is expected to include that. This will split Republicans on Capitol Hill. We first reported on this effort last week. Government funding expires on January 30th, and House lawmakers already privately acknowledged that they are going to get jammed by the Senate. Johnson is facing a restive rank and file, to say the least. Lawmakers have filed discharge petitions on healthcare, Russia sanctions, and after the recess is over, Republicans and Democrats will likely file one to ban stock trading in Congress. Remember, discharge petitions are basically a sign of failure for the leadership. It's gotten so bad that Johnson said he wants to change House rules to make it harder to file discharge petitions. This will never pass. But it does underscore just how frustrated the leadership is with losing control of the House. The One Big Beautiful Act passed by Congress on July 3rd, 144 days ago, and since then the House has been racked by infighting. The redistricting is blowing up in the GOP's face as the party faces a significant challenge to its map in Texas and seemingly unmovable state lawmakers in places like Indiana. Trump most recently cozied up to New York Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani in the Oval Office, raising concerns about whether the GOP can follow up on their plans to run a nationwide campaign against the Democratic Socialist. One thing that's important to note, the midterms are just 344 days away. All right, let's get to the number 2 story of the morning. We've got some news here. This CIA officials in Mexico City sent a cable to the agency's headquarters in Langley, Virginia, alarmed at Representative Dan Crenshaw's behavior during a congressional delegation meeting in August, according to multiple sources in the administration, intelligence community, and on Capitol Hill. Jake Sherman and our defense policy reporter Brianna Riley report this morning. CIA officials raised concerns about Crenshaw's seemingly unprofessional behavior linked to drinking and decorum in the presence of Mexican officials, according to these sources. Crenshaw was in Mexico in August as part of his role as the chair of the House and Intel Committee's Cartel Task Force. He no longer chairs that task force, which has since been disbanded. The CIA declined to comment for the record. The meeting also included Democratic Representative Lou Carrera. Crenshaw took part in a toast that included crude language, which made women in the room uncomfortable, according to multiple sources. We reported, of course, last week that Speaker Mike Johnson and House Intel Committee Chair Rick Crawford banned Crenshaw from taxpayer-funded congressional delegation travel for 90 days after the incident. Crenshaw also gave up his role as chair of the Cartel Task Force. Crawford actually wanted to remove Crenshaw from the Intel Committee, but Johnson vetoed that effort. Crawford was also aiming to strip Crenshaw of his subcommittee chairmanship overseeing defense intelligence. Crenshaw still does hold that position. Here is a statement from a spokesman from Crenshaw. Anyone shocked by guys in uniform making a crass joke over a toast has never spent more than 5 minutes around the military. The only story here is a pathetic political hit job. Johnson, who kept Crenshaw on the House Intel Committee against the chair's wishes, also sent a statement of support for the Texas Republican. Here's a statement. Dan Crenshaw has always been and still is our point man in Congress when it comes to addressing the threat of the drug cartels. His insights and expertise in these and other matters regarding intelligence and national security are invaluable. As a former Navy SEAL, he has earned his large platform despite recent media attacks by his political opponents. We know Dan, we stand by his record, and we have full confidence. He will continue to deliver results. All right, let's go to the number 3 story of the morning. Can Congress actually pass Russia sanctions now? We're asking that question. Congress may have its best chance in months to pass hard-hitting Russia sanctions when lawmakers return from the Thanksgiving recess, as top Republicans are publicly and privately panning the Trump administration's renewed efforts to end the war in Ukraine, a weekend of chaos and confusion over what exactly the United States is pushing for, paired with GOP criticism that the administration's proposal is too favorable to Moscow, is testing Republican leaders' patience after a head-spinning several months of teasing legislative action. While the U.S. and Ukraine touted progress on Sunday after talks in Geneva, there were key differences in the two sides' readouts, and the initial U.S. proposal caused further strain in the relationship between the two countries. But despite Republicans' deep skepticism of President Donald Trump's drive toward a deal, many of the same hurdles that have blunted previous momentum for congressional action could stand in the way once again. There's the bullish case. The weekend began with the top Republicans saying the White House's peace plan rewards Russia's aggression and shortchanges Ukraine. It prompted Representative Brian Fitzpatrick, the Republican from Pennsylvania, to announce that he'll trigger a discharge petition to pass the House's version of the bipartisan and long-stalled sanctions bill from Senators Lindsey Graham and Richard Blumenthal. That this bill would easily pass the House, but not so fast. Passing a sanctions bill, or any other effort to counter Russia for that matter, has been GOP leaders' most elusive goal this year. That is, of course, because Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune have deferred to the White House, saying they won't and don't want to undermine Trump. We are going to be watching all of this and more play out and covering it along the way for you. Thanks so much for listening. We appreciate it. If you like the Daily Punch, please share it with your friends on social media. Tell your family over the holidays that they need to be listening to this podcast. It's the best way for folks to find out about us. And of course, you can go deeper on all things Punchbowl News at punchbowl.news. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody.